This is section 2.8, literal equations. We all know how normal equations work. You have a variable and you have some numbers. Now, what if you really like letters? What if you want more letters? Then you'd have to have more variables. Then, with a literal equation, you need to solve for one variable. And you always are going to have some variables in your solution. Now you may think, no, that's not allowed. My solution has to be only numbers and that's it, nothing else. Well, for literal equations, that's not the case. You have to isolate the variable on one side, and you have to leave all the other stuff on the other side, and that's your solution. That's all you have to do. Now that's pretty simple, so let's see how you do it. So, let's try out some of the cool new stuff we learned. So over here we have 3 problems, and they each get harder as you go, and for all of these problems we're going to be solving for the variable x. And so let's just jump right into the first one. Now for this one it's pretty simple. All you have to do is pretend that y and z are just numbers. So solve it as you would a normal equation where these are numbers and this is an equation. So you would just subtract 4, then you would divide by y, and then you just have x on its own. That's x right there. And we just do z minus 4, and since we're dividing by y, that's over y, and that's your solution. See, it can have variables, that's part of the solution, but you just have to get x on its own, and that's it. Now, for the next one, it's a little bit more tricky, but what you have to do is you have to use the distributive property. So you're going to take out x, and then, actually, let me just show you. So we have 4x minus y. So first thing we're going to do is take the y to the other side. Because this side is going to be, this left side is going to be our x side, and then the other side is just all the other stuff. So we have 4x equals xy plus y plus 7. And then we have to subtract xy because that's an x right there. We need to take the x's to the other side. So we have 4x minus xy equals y plus 7. Now, this part is a little bit tricky, but still, you can get it. All you have to do is take out the x. Now, with the distributive property, you divide this whole side by x, but it's still the same thing since you can take out x and then just leave the other stuff there. So, if we take out x and then do 4 minus y, that's the same thing as 4x minus xy. It's just that it's separated. So you're doing x times, in parentheses, 4 minus y equals y plus 7. And now all we have to do, see, we have this x on its own. Now all this stuff just has to go to the other side. So all we have to do is x equals y plus 7 over 4 minus y. And that's our solution. See, it was still simple. So for this last problem, it's a little bit trickier, but you can still get it. So this one, basically there's just more stuff to do before you actually get the answer. Now, the first thing we're going to do is, because there's a 7z at the bottom that's just sitting there, we don't need that. So we have to multiply both sides by 7z. So we have xy plus 4, and then 5x times 7z would be 35xz. So we have 35xz. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring the 35xz to the other side. Then we have xy plus 4 minus 35xz equals, can I fit it in there? 0. Okay, that's a weird 0, but whatever. And then now we're just going to subtract the 4. So then we have xy minus 35xz equals negative 4. And then now we're going to do the same thing with the distributive property. So we're just going to take out the x so we can have that x on its own and then move all the other stuff to the other side. So then we have x times y minus 35z equals negative 4. And then now all we have to do is, like we did on the second problem, all we have to do is divide by that y minus 35z, and then we'll have x on its own. Negative 4 over y minus 35z. That's it. That's literal equations. And this, so you can use these three problems, and these are basically all you need to know. You need to know how to solve for the variable and leave the variable on its own, isolate it, and have all the other stuff on the other side. And you need to know how to use the distributive property to do this. So to recap, a literal equation is an equation with more than one variable, and you need to solve by isolating the variable and leave all the other stuff on the other side, and use the distributive property sometimes to do that by taking out x, or whatever variable you're solving for, and bringing all the other stuff to the other side. And that's basically it for literal equations.